Jen?
Jennifer, yeah.
Jennifer. Hi, Jennifer. Okay, you're calling user 12. Great. All right, so welcome to, let me be the last, and hopefully to wish you a happy 2015. We're now 20 days in. But also to wish you an end to Martin Luther King Jr. weekend. I was thinking about that in regard to this group, considering how some of the conversations we had with Rabbi Susan Talvey in St. Louis back in November, but also our journey back in Birmingham nearly a year ago, which was all about thinking about the civil rights movement of the JELI teams. So it's really great to have everyone here. This is our penultimate webinar, because we have February 17th, and then we have our time together in Orlando, which we are putting a few touches of our schedule on. Very excited to share that with you by the end of January. But we have some work to do today. We have some work to do around program evaluation from the beginning. I'm not Jeff would want me to say it like that, but I just did. What's our agenda? We're going to do a yes.
If you haven't seen Selma, you really need to see it. It's really, especially after our Birmingham experience, it's really powerful.
I have not yet seen it, but I'm hearing the same things. So thank you for sharing that. Maybe I can mute some people. I think some background noise covered now. So we'll welcome, and we'll do a whiteboard. We may not do a whiteboard. We're going to have an initial conversation. Monica in Birmingham is going to give us our Devar Torah for today. And we'll turn it over to Dr. Jeff Kress, better known as Jeff, for our program evaluation from the beginning content conversation. And then I will go over much of what I went over in December, but a little further about your final reports to your project requirements as we get closer to Orlando. Talk a little bit more about Orlando. And say actually now and repeat later how wonderful your videos have been for those of you that have submitted, and I know the rest of you are going to do so in short order, reflecting on the St. Louis video that we shared with you and you sharing your own reflection how you're putting JELI back into your JCC. I was like, why is your phone constantly ringing with text messages with videos? And I said, don't worry, it is all for my JELIs, and it's been a real treat to watch some of them, and I can't wait to share them with the group. But let's put first things first. Talk about, for our icebreaker, inspired by yesterday, Martin Luther King Jr. Day, which has really become a day of service in this country and in the United States. And I want to pose a question to you. Think about the last mitzvah, or the last, good is not the 100% correct translation, but for lack of a better term, someone performed that helped you, supported you, or guided you, made you feel valued, honored, or celebrated. The last mitzvah someone performed, and someone did that either helped, supported, or guide you, and or just made you feel valued, honored, or celebrated. Tonight, grab a pen or a separate area of your computer screen, type your reaction to that, or one example. If I can ask it for someone to share out loud, one example, that would be great. And as you're writing down, not only to put up a visual of Martin Luther King in this slide, but was inspired by this quote: if you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, keep moving. I thought that spoke not only to his efforts, obviously, but really to a lot of what we've been talking about in JELI, of how do we be that change? How do we continue moving in the right direction, even if the goal seems far away? How do we keep moving there? That was really, again, connected to our group. Anyone would like to share, and I hope I can get at least 2 or 3, to share, what was the last mitzvah someone performed for you? Make sure to raise your hand if you're muted and you can't unmute yourself, or let me know that you're interested in sharing. Cheryl Megan has the word voluntold. I can very easily voluntold somebody. tell somebody to share, but hopefully I can get a volunteer in the next few seconds or so, because I'd love to hear what other people have done for you.
Can you hear me?
You.
It's Stephanie, guys, from Akron. It actually was kind of ironic yesterday. We're undergoing our $2 million indoor pool project, and part of that was we had a huge campaign to raise money for tiles that go on one part of our wall, donor tiles, dedication tiles, or whatnot. And I was walking through the pool construction yesterday as they're putting all these tiles up, and one of our donors was in there kind of scoping it out, and he looked at me and he said, "Stephanie, do you see your tile?" And I said, I did a small contribution for my husband and I did a small contribution for the staff. I said, "Yeah, I saw those going up." And he said, "No, Stephanie, did you see your tile?" And I said, "What are you talking about?" Well, the community, the board, and several of my staff raised over $2,000 for this project in honor of my name, to put my name and a little message on the wall to be able to commemorate everything that I've done for the JCC. Without me knowing, and they have absolutely kind of done a mitzvah for a project or a fundraising project that was very near and dear to my heart. And, that was something that really made me feel valued, honored, and celebrated.
Stephanie, awesome. I have a feeling that if we were all in person, we'd all be like clapping our hands right now. Not only do we know as a group that is so well deserved and well earned, but just the fact that they did that, and in terms of a level of charity where they did it without, sharing with you in advance and almost did it anonymously, it's just really special. So I'm glad that made you feel honored and celebrated, and I appreciate you sharing with us. And really go. That's awesome, Stephanie. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
So hands were raised by Carol and by Adam. So we'll have those be our other two sharing. So Carol, Troy, your turn. Let me mute it. Carol, you're unmuted.
Howdy, how are you? I'm sad to say that 2015 did not get off to such a wonderful start in my family. We had a very big loss, and I was shocked and amazed at how many of my and worker fellow friends came to the Shiva, and it was an amazing experience to sit there and talk with people during this very sad time. So I have to say that was a great mitzvah, even though that's not supposed to be a mitzvah. I know, I get it, but it was really a mitzvah that these friends of mine came out and spent some time with us. It was nice.
It actually is a mitzvah.
I thought that it's not. That it's like, okay, I believe you.
To comfort the mourner is one of the mitzvahs you can do.
So echo Shelley. First, Carol, our sincere condolences on your loss.
Yes.
And thank you for sharing that with us. Having experienced that somewhat recently, I know every situation is different, but it feels like it's not a mitzvah, but it is. I mean, people are just so warm to others when death falls, a family. So appreciate you sharing that with us. I'm so glad that your community, and know that your JELI community is here for you as well.
Thank you.
Follow up those two. Mine was I met with, as just part of my job being new to the community, I met with the executive director of the local United Way. And known to me, we had actually met years ago because his son was a basketball player, and there had been interaction. He remembered my interaction with his son in a positive way, and as a result, he went out of his way to make contacts for me and even make phone calls for me to introduce me to key people in the community who could potentially, help our JCC in a lot of different ways through partnership and financially. And so he said he went out of his way to unite me and provide that extra support and resources that he certainly didn't have to.
Especially being new to the community, those times when, people are supporting you, you're in a new position, you want to start successfully, it's great that that person had your back and was able to do that for you, Adam. Jen Zislis also had her hand up. She'll be our fourth and, at least for the moment, final contributor to this discussion. So Jen, I think you can yourself. If not, I'm happy to do that.
Mine was a little bit personal last night. My husband was home yesterday with the kids because he was off for Martin Luther King, and I had a very busy day at work. And normally in the afternoons, I rush home and do carpool and cook dinner, et cetera, et cetera. And I left work, I worked out, and I came home to a home-cooked, fabulous meal by my husband. The table set, the kids' homework was done, they were showered. It was like, walking in the door at 6 o'clock was a breeze, and it really felt good. So it was kind of, was a nice day. You have a good man.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because sometimes I think you might think of, what can I do for the community, or what can I do from the person that I don't know? Sometimes the best mitzvahs are the ones that we can do for the ones closest to us. I think between the four that were shared, and I'm sure the others that we all could share, if we all shared, would, provide a wide picture of, how mitzvahs have such a strong impact, and how it's, really connected with, not only professionally but personally. So thanks to Adam, Jen, for Michelle, and great start to our discussion this morning.
Do you know that it's a mitzvah to make coffee for your spouse in the morning? Jewish mitzvah. It really is.
Did not know that, JELI. Did not know that.
Yeah, tell wife.
Let's pass this on to Monica, who...
that's written in the Maxwell House Haggadah, I believe.
All right, Monica. So, as we know, Monica started the JELI 2 experience in New Orleans, but now has been at Birmingham for the better part of 6 months, and is our deliverer of Devar Torah this morning. Monica, would you like to have the text on the screen, or you just want to deliver it without?
Without. Let's be happy to do it without it.
Great. It's ours.
Hi, everybody. Good to see everyone. So I'm going to go ahead and give the Devar, and I would love to hear feedback after I'm finished. So this week's Torah portion, Bo, tells us the story of the final plagues in Egypt. Within this story, we learned that God has asked the Hebrews to change to a new calendar, a lunar calendar. What asked of the Hebrews was not a simple request. Imagine waking up one morning and your whole world, your entire concept of time had to change to move forward. And changing to a lunar calendar signifies a shift, a major change in the lives and ways of thinking of the Hebrew people. Change something I personally can relate to as I move forward in my new position at the Levitt JCC of Birmingham. I have a number of challenges that have reminded me that, like the Hebrews, I must change my way of thinking in order to move forward. These challenges are not only faced in the professional world, but the personal world as well. I know that in order to make change, we have to change. I wonder if the Hebrew people ever questioned their decision or doubted their ability to achieve success by making these changes. They with their calendar changing, then leaving Egypt, and eventually, thankfully, through faith and determination, making it to the land of milk and honey. Making good, healthy change can lead to a positive outcome. That change may not seem like a good idea at first, but with faith and determination, we too can find our own land of milk and honey.
Very nice.
Fine. Yeah, I've actually just, if you'll have some kind of burning thoughts and responses to Monica's there, because we have a couple of minutes. But I want to applaud you for pointing out how much of a disorientation change can be. If we all of a sudden went to a totally different calendar that was far into us from the January, February, or the Tishrei Cheshvan that we're used to, everything else would become more difficult. And we would have go through that new paradigm, and that's not too different from going from one JCC to another that has a different culture, that has a different leadership, that works in a different community. So that can cause a lot of frustrations initially and challenges, but I think, Monica, you're one example of how with faith and determination you can pull through. And I can have to check your Facebook page or my Facebook page every morning to see that you're doing really great things at your JCC.
I have no problem sharing how I'm feeling with the world, usually in a positive manner.
I'll open the floor to anyone else that wants to share, and if I don't see your hand raised, you can just mute yourself and share a minute. Otherwise, we will move on. If you don't have a thought at the moment, to share with Monica either separately on chat or through a separate email some other thoughts that you have on her Devar Torah. I think it's a nice lead-in thinking about if we want changes and if we have changes in our own lives, what are those changes leading to? And then how do we evaluate if those changes or anything that we're doing in our respective projects or enterprises are successful? So it is we are all done with JELI, but not quite done with JELI. Got some more learning after this to talk about program evaluation. And there's no greater person in this whole entire world, certainly in Jewish education, to talk about program evaluation than Jeff Kraft. So Jeff, I will pass over to you. I've unmuted you. I will make you the presenter so you can take the reins from here.
Am I coming through? Sort of?
Yes.
Yeah, good. Thank you, Mark. Mark, if Mark evaluated everything that I did, I would be rich and famous because Mark is so complimentary, and I very much appreciate it. And thanks for the opportunity to talk a little bit and to lead our webinar today. I want to acknowledge the attendance of a new JELI participant, Eliana Pepper, who I am seeing in the little square making an appearance. So thank you, Jesse, for, there we go. There we go. So you could see, if you could see in there. Today we're going to talk a little bit about program evaluation. Based on the old saying, program evaluation is next to godliness, which is just a famous saying. I also believe from the Maxwell House Haggadah, but I'm not 100% sure where that's from. We're going to read a little bit of biblical text and midrashic sources or explanations of the text, and talk about program evaluation. And the reason we're doing this is because, as Monica and as Mark talked about, is part of JELI, and it's a change could take a lot of different forms in what people got or are getting out of JELI, things they're learning, ways that you're thinking, what frameworks kind of to think about and see the world. And most concretely, for most of you, will be the JELI project, which is something that you would implement and also evaluate, because this question of how's it going is not just a quick, how you doing? All right, I'm all right. But something that we need to report and we need to understand in order to better our work. I'm not going to say much more now because we're going to get into that in a little bit. So, okay. We are going to, in Chavruta pairs that Mark will show in a minute, we're going to do reading of a text. I'll show you the text right now. A long text, but it is familiar text because it is the first of biblical texts. Genesis 1, chapter 1, verse 1 is the creation story. And you could read it with your chavruta, skim it quickly, the general, you all know how it ends. The world was created. Sorry if that was a spoiler for some of you. But, the world was created, and and then each group will have a different midrash, and going back to our midrash is really just a biblical interpretation, and it's based on the idea that in the Bible there are accidents and there is nothing extra. So if there's something that is said in the Bible, it has meaning. And there's something that's said multiple times, some meaning to that too. Why is this said and why is it repeated? So this midrash, the midrashim, multiple midrashes that you're going to look at are from a book called Genesis Rabbah, or Bereshit Rabbah, and they're based around the creation story. Many of them are based on the idea that creation is actually part of the creation story. And one of the things that is in the creation story is this idea of God seeing and saying that it is good. So a reflective stance of God evaluating God's work and sharing that as part of the text. So what I ask each pair to do is to look at the text, look at their assigned midrash. There are each midrash. There are 6 midrashes and or midrashim. So there'll be more groups. So some of you will double up on midrashes, but that's okay. And in 15 minutes, we'll come back, and the report back is from the text and your group's midrash. You don't have to read all the midrash, just your groups. What's lessons to take? What's one key lesson or 2 key lessons to take away about program evaluation? One or 2 key lessons from the Bible text and together with your midrash. And you'll pair up, we'll come back, and each group will report back about midrash. We'll go through one by one.
Okay, so you have the ability to go back and forth between the text and the midrashes and the groups. These are the groups. Let me make myself the presenter again. Can you? Okay, I'm not the presenter.
Yeah.
Good. Okay, now everyone can see. Hopefully, everyone is on the Chavruta page now of the PowerPoint. Let me just. Okay, so the groups might be slightly different than this, but first, let me just do a call out. Lynn Davis, are you on? Email. Yes. No. Lynn emailed that she had some program going on right now that may have diverted attention from today. So there may be one change. Carol and Amy, you are Group A. So focus on Midrash A in your conversation. Adam, Monica, Midrash B. Howard, Jennifer R, your Midrash C. Deborah, your Midrash D. Natalie, I'm going to ask you to join Leah. So Leah and Natalie, not Leah and Lynn, but Leah and Natalie, you'll be Midrash E. Jess and Jesse, you'll be Midrash F or Group F. And I'll ask Jeremy and Stephanie to also be Group A. So again, the group Midrash texts are here, groups A, B, C, D, E, and F. Carol A, Adam, Monica B, Howie, Jennifer C, Deborah, Sarah D, Leah, Natalie E, Jen Z, Jesse E, F rather, and Jeremy and Stephanie A. So you got 15 minutes. Send to your groups. Keep close to your chats to know when to come back. It's 12:56 Eastern, so around 1:11, 1:12. Come on back. And look forward to hearing about your conversations. Questions or concerns, just shoot me a chat or tell me out. And those of you that are watching on recording, I know Rochelle, Meredith, Lynn, and some of our advisors that weren't able to join us. Currently about 27 minutes into our webinar, 24 minutes into our webinar, and we're at the Chavruta part. Jeff introduced program evaluation as an important tool for us to have as JELI Fellows, especially working with our JELI projects. Gave us a very noteworthy text, the beginning of the Torah, Genesis chapter 1, and some midrashic text of that. And the groups that you see on your screen were each assigned a different midrash text to discuss and bring back to the group their insights. How does it relate to program evaluation and their JELI learning? So feel free to skip ahead in the recording to about 15 minutes from now to hear about those reflections, and encourage you to review the text as well as the group midrash text so you can be abreast on the conversation. Everyone else, I'll mute myself and I'll make another announcement in a few minutes.
Hey, Howie. I'm good. How are you? Things are a little pain right now. Oh, okay.
Thanks for an update. Our groups are still in Chavruta right now in pairs, looking at the Genesis text and the Midrashic texts that are up. Feel free to skip ahead so you can hear the group reflections in about 10 or 12 minutes.
Thank you.
try to give everyone a 5-minute warning if you're on the recording, that you can go at about 5 minutes or so. And if you happen to be in your partner conversation and are hearing my voice, that we have about 5 more minutes of breakout conversations, and then we'll come back together in every group, and we'll continue our learning on program evaluation today. So 5 more minutes. Great. But I see that Monica and Adam are back. Welcome back, Monica and Adam. You can hear my voice. You can hear my voice. I will unmute you just so you're ready. You want me to make you the presenter again, so when we get back going, you can...
Yeah, that would be great.
Great. I'll leave it at the Hubruta page, but you can go back to the...
Yeah, I'm probably going to put the Midrash page so people can see each other's Midrash.
I was really thinking a whiteboard, but that might just get too confusing going back.
No, I think people reporting back would be good.
Great. Give, as we wait for everyone to come back, a shout out, if you will, to the advisors that are on. Obviously, we've heard Shelley. Shelley, good to see you. Jen Tobenstein, I see you're on with us. Hope all is well in Larchmont. And Jane, because I have you from in Manhattan, and excited to have conversations with all of you a little bit later this week as we put the finishing touches on JELI Orlando. Amy are back. That's great. Jeremy and Stephanie are back. So hopefully, in a minute or two, we'll have the rest of the groups back, and we'll continue on our program evaluation conversation. Back as well, Lena. Hope she contributed to the conversation as well, Jesse. I don't know what Noah was when I introduced Noah to a JELI webinar for JELI Cohort 1, but I think they rival each other in months. Who is the youngest person that's ever been on a JELI webinar? I have to check the records. And Jennifer are back. So I think 1, 2, 3, we're just maybe waiting on Leah and Natalie and Deborah and Sarah. If you guys are back, let us know. Otherwise, we'll start. Sarah's back. Great. Okay. So I think other than Leah and Natalie, and they might very well be back, go ahead and get started. So.
Good. Okay. Great. So why don't, let's see, I'm going to put up the Midrash texts. And why don't we go one by one? There are two groups that did Group A, so we'll do both of those groups. And you don't have to read the whole thing because it's up there already, but just a quick synthesis of what your Midrash was about and your piece of advice or learning about program evaluation. So the first Group A group. So let's see, I'm going to have to go back and forth here. So that's Carol and Amy.
Carol. So Amy and I talked about the Midrash, and we come up with if you do something and don't like it, don't give up. Keep evaluating, keep searching. Even God didn't the first time God tried to make our world. He didn't succeed in one try. So yeah, that's what we came up with.
Great. So based on this idea that this wasn't the Earth you're seeing was not the first shot at it, but the result of kind of recreating, kind of don't get discouraged. Even God needs another chance. Great, thank you. What about the second doing that, which is Jeremy and Stephanie?
Ian and I talked about was all about trial and error, which goes along with what Carol was saying too, and just the same thing also is being okay with starting over, starting from scratch. If you didn't like what something is, it's okay if you completely try again.
Great. Okay, thank you. A lesson in expectations, perhaps. We don't always get it right, and an important lesson for all of us in terms of resilience and persistence. Thank you. Group B was Adam and Monica.
Okay, our part was talking about how the second day the comments about this being good was not mentioned on the second day, or it was on many of the other days. And that from the program evaluation standpoint, of a couple different perspectives. The need to work together and collaborate and not separate things, which was the main point that the guys had here, that day involved separating the waters and the heavens, so it was not necessarily viewed as a great thing. Now we have to, and we need to together. The other point of view we took from it is that all steps along the path of a project don't necessarily have to go perfect for the program to still be considered successful. At the end of the day, it's created the end of but all the steps along the way weren't considered perfect.
Thank you. And I'd even take that a step further, that not only might be not as successful, but they actually may seem like you're heading sometimes in the wrong direction. That paradoxically, you may have to make a change. Then popular. This goes back to this idea that Monica talked about earlier. The change is a risk, and that sometimes you don't see a linear growth. Sometimes it's bumpy, but we're all trying to keep the trajectory generally positive, even though there are ups and downs. So, Group C, Howie, Jennifer.
Can you?
Yep.
So Howie and I, we discussed the idea that with our text, that with the day God finished, and when you consider that if he actually finished creating on the 6th day, and then on the 7th day he created the Sabbath, we thought it similar to a program that perhaps you complete a program, but until you actually evaluate it, it's not completed.
Mm-hmm. So, in a way, it's not a part of the cycle of programming. It isn't just like Shabbat is part of the cycle of the week, that it's a day of take account of the week and reflection and rest, which is considered it's an active thing. It says God was creating that. It wasn't just that we say God rested, but there is actually the sense that God was still creating. What He created was this opportunity to reflect and evaluate our week, so to speak. Great, thank you. Group D, Sarah.
So we talked about what we read out of this was when praise from creator from the top down, there's not necessarily a need to question that. Is that what we read? So in regards to program evaluation, we have a tool to evaluate a program and to measure and have goals that's going to help with questioning the top, the CEO, and to help with preparation.
Mm-hmm. Do your homework before you make claims, and especially when it's up the ladder. And here we have the ultimate top of the ladder with the creator, but with our execs or our supervisors, to have names based on actual data put us at a different footing than soft. Well, people seem to like it or whatever it is. Yeah. Thank you. Group E. Who's Group E? Leah Natalie. Yes, Leah Natalie.
Am I muted?
We are, yes.
Okay, sorry. Not great with technology. So Natalie and I discussed the response of whatever was created during the 6 days of creation needs further doing. So the need for a program evaluation if the program is running great and people are happy and it's profitable. And our response was, nothing is perfect, and everything always can deal with a little fine-tuning, because even if the program's running great, things can get a little stale. People can lose interest. So, it's like that adage, don't fix something that's not broke. Doesn't, you still need to continually evaluate the program, even if it seems redundant, because things can always do with a little changing.
Mm-hmm. Great. So there's the idea that if you're not moving, you're actually falling behind, as opposed to the other adage you said of if it ain't fixed, don't broke it. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Well, you know where I'm getting at with that. Sorry, my lupines needed sweetening. I don't know if I had to Google lupines from that quote. Evidently, they're an edible flower of some kind that I suppose not sweet originally. So great. So thanks for that interpretation. And the idea that, again, tweaking, that it works back to evaluation. Tweaking for tweaking's sake. I think we've all seen people or felt a kind of pressure to tweak for tweaking's sake. Oh, why don't we try this? Why don't we try that? That could get infuriating. But the idea of linking it with evaluation is that you're not tweaking it just for the sake of tweaking it, but you're tweaking it based on indicators of where a program can be changed and improved, and it's a directed, thoughtful approach to making these tweaks, and not a scrap this thing because we need something cool that, that we haven't tried before. F. Jen, Z, and Jesse.
And Jesse, Anna, and I discussed. And for us, there was a comparison between the king and his advisors and their knowledge. And so we took it to the program element of input from other people and how important it is to get that information and also take that information to make the appropriate changes if necessary. And so just like an advisor or a king goes to his court and asks for help, that in this program evaluation, you can't really do it by yourself without getting that input.
So this was a midrash based on, again, one word, which gave the rabbi some questioning. It's and God said, "Let us make man," and God rightly, the rabbis rightly asked, "Who's us in this equation?" And it seems that God he got advice, or God got advice, and what you're pulling out of it is that evaluation can be or should be a group process. Something that the more input you get up front, the better the results are going to be kind of on the way out. Thanks. Before I head with some of that next section, any other things that you spoke about, any other pieces of advice that you pulled out of the text or the midrash that you want to share? And I welcome that. Is raise your hand or even just jump in. Jump in at any point. I want to just echo, I had the opportunity to read all of these through and started kind of a brainstorm list. So some of this, or a lot of it, is things that have come already. I'll go through them, and I won't. It won't be too repetitive. There are a few new ideas that I'll choose to emphasize. The first is, if God evaluates, who are we not to? And I put that in because there is often, or there is sometimes, a tendency to think that we know things intuitively. So probably have heard, you ask someone who's running a program, and how did it go? And they said, "Oh, it went great." Well, how do you know that? Oh, well, I know when a program goes well, and when it doesn't go well. And there's truth to that. We can feel kind of a room being silent, and we can feel when things are exciting and enthused. But limit to that. And I think this idea that, all the way from the beginning, program evaluation was part of things, it really calls on us to be more systematic about some of the questions we ask and some of the things we learn about our program, if for no other reason than when we report those up the ladder, option is, as one of the groups said, the more we can support that with data, the better. This was, again, based on the last comment. Again, if God uses a team approach, why go alone? So just a few comments about that. Evaluation could be very time-consuming, and having partners in that is helpful. It also helps because you get multiple perspectives. What I think might have been a fascinating discussion, your partner who you asked to sit in your session to observe might have thought that the conversation was really going off track or didn't experience how you experienced it. And also involving those constituents who has a stake in the success of the program And really, sometimes the most important thing is having that conversation. Why are we doing this? What outcome do you want? And I'm sure everyone's found in that conversation that the different constituents don't always want the same thing. And just having that conversation where you're trying to understand the different needs and the different expectations could be itself a learning process. And sometimes this means making a decision based on your budget and how you spend your time and your money, whether this is something that needs an external consultant or something that you're going to do in-house. This I drew from some of the thing about the mustard needing sweetening and the Shabbat being the end of the process. We don't always see the results of our programs and our efforts until later on. And the jargon that evaluators will use is proximal and distal. Proximal means closer, like this kind of thing. Distal, like distant, is further out. And we don't always have the luxury, or we often don't have the luxury of waiting around and saying, well, our early childhood program, I really think it works because when they get to high school, they're going to know X. So they're asking for funding for this program for the 3-year-olds. That's not going to fly. Well, we'll get you some data in 9 years from now or whatever it is. So there's the question of your logic model. How do you think the short-term outcomes will relate to that distant outcome, and how to evaluate some of those things that are more proximal or closer in time? And the funding and the capacity to actually evaluate a program 9 years down the road. That is a fascinating question, but one that we seldom get to ask. On these things ahead, I realize I'm pushing the wrong button. Sorry about that. So jargon, proximal, distal outcomes. All right. Their politics of evaluation. In the Midrash that we read, it was the politics having to say, if God likes something, who are we to say no? Is a reality. Who hear of our program outcomes? Are they going to be shared? What action are we going to anticipate from different constituents? And we be proactive about how we communicate that to the results to the constituents. At the beginning, there's an important question about evaluation, especially if you have supervisees that are being evaluated. How do we communicate the purpose of the evaluation so that it's not seen as what we sometimes refer to as gotcha evaluation, that there a bad performance is that you have to be nervous about going in because of an evaluation, but rather how do you convey that there's a spirit of learning and growth? And that is also a political end of things, because if you're a supervisor, your evaluation is going to be seen in a certain way by those who you supervise. The tone that is important to set. Use evaluation throughout, not tacked on. So here's Eeyore with the tail tacked on. I always a big fan of Eeyore. We don't have to wait. We sometimes think that evaluation is you send someone on the way out of the room, you give them a feedback form, you like it, didn't you like it, and evaluation can be and should be infused throughout an activity. So for example, museum, and I've seen this in action, it's exciting. At the end of a particular exhibit in a museum, before you go into the next room, you have people write little index cards what the action is to the exhibit at that point and drop them in a little bucket. Or if you're doing a professional development session, as one activity, we just learned X, Y, and Z in groups of 3, right up on the board on your Post-its, 3 new ideas that you learned. And then the next activity, those ideas are data. They're related to the outcome, and not something that is has to be tacked on as an afterthought. Bad outcomes could be informative. That was talked about a little bit in the discussion. I think that there's an old quote from an old movie that I didn't see. I didn't see this movie, but I like the quote, so I will quote it anyway. Sometimes the magic works, sometimes it doesn't, and that's how it is with our program. Sometimes the magic works, and sometimes it doesn't, and we learn from either of those outcomes. And lastly, maybe this should have been firstly, because I think this is the framing for the whole evaluation endeavor, is that evaluation, for whatever reason we're doing it, whoever's asking us to, or what report we have to write, et cetera, that evaluation should be part of a spirit of continuous learning and growth, as evidenced by this kind of upward spiral. Yes, it's not always upward. It's upward and a little dip and up and dip, whatever. But if the stance is we evaluate to learn and reflect, then you can use the evaluation and make the effort that you and your staff are putting into evaluation, make that effort worthwhile and make it feel good. Not an empty feel good. I mean, experienced as positive, be a learning experience by you and your staff alike. So, with a couple of minutes, I'm on the slides. There's other stuff, but I'm happy to pause and take any reactions, questions, or more thoughts about program evaluation.
I know Shelley wanted to say something.
Yeah, I'll say two things. First of all, about the Dvar Torah, or one of the comments, is not our holiday. That is not our holiday. It's God's holiday. Do that. We keep Shabbos because we want to act in a godly way, but that's the only holiday in the Torah, in the Jewish tradition, that's built into the nature of the world, and actually God's holiday to rest and not ours. Sukkot, everything else is our holiday. The second thing I wanted to say about evaluation is I work for a funder that gives out big bucks, and they will not accept any proposal that does not have evaluation built in from the beginning. One of the things that I work with, evaluator started with us when we set our goals and does ongoing evaluation through us, with our participants, the whole thing. And that's the new style now, and it all, that's just the way I don't want it, and it is very good educational practice.
As a means of kind of segueing evaluation to JELI, Jeff, is we can't make JELI as good of a program, if you guys think it's good, without your feedback and your evaluation. So we've made the decision not to give you a survey after every webinar, because that would be a lot, but after every major component of the program, i.e. after the retreats or a set of webinars and retreats, we ask for your feedback in both a quantitative and a qualitative way, which is part of the reason why JELI 2 looks a little different than JELI 1, although the same overall goals and premise and structure are the same. And even where we now in JELI 2 is, a little different than what we envisioned a year ago when we were in Birmingham, because evaluation, I see it as a two-way process between the educationer and the learner. And you, all of you have been very heavily involved in not only the evaluation of JELI, but in the way of, as the slide indicates, making JELI a spirit of continuous learning and growth. So thank you for being part of the evaluative process.
And as you're thinking more about evaluation and your projects, I know some of you are kind of way ahead and kind of toward the later stage in your projects. I'm happy to chat with you one-on-one about how assessment and evaluation can fit within your project. And just you all know how to get in touch with me, so please do so. So thank you.
Well, and thank all of you for Participating in the content part of the webinar, obviously program evaluation is something that's come up in next month's conversation and probably permeated throughout our Orlando conversations as well, as you will all be presenting your projects, which is a nice segue. So this slide appeared in the December webinar. I'm putting it up today because now, that much closer to Orlando to explain a little bit further about what we are expecting, what our time in Orlando will look like vis-a-vis your projects. So reminder, you will be sharing both your project kind of progress and results up to this point as an oral report in Orlando, which can include visuals and other ways to share with us, as well as a written report. We want at least a bullet point outline or just get a sense of what you want to share orally on March 5th. And then before you get to Orlando, you deliver to us electronically a written report. And that can be a Word document, a PowerPoint, a PDF, all are acceptable. I've suggested one educational technology that you can use, TAC, but that's just optional, encouraged or not. Reminder that as you continue your project implementation, that if you want to use the funds that we have allotted for you, I need to know that as soon as possible, and definitely have those receipts to me by May 1st at the very latest. And make sure your JELI advisor who will obviously be at your project presentation in March, part of the process as you finalize at least this part of your project work and report on it. I back up on the screen. You have this on the Google website, Google site, a little more about the oral presentations. A like change, not in final, likely change is that you'll have opportunity to share in your job tracks briefly. It would be no more than actually like 2 or 3 minutes, not 3 to 5, but you'll share a little bit. But we made the final on it, but we are likely playing with actually having every fellow present to the entire group. And then instead of presenting to a portion of your cohort, we'll have time throughout Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday when we're all together for everyone to prepare a 7 to 10 maybe minute presentation with the 7 to 10 minutes or 5 to 7 minutes of feedback from the larger group. So thinking about your group presentation, formal presentation to the JELI Fellows being to the entire group. But the rest of this document really is the same. We want you to be able to share not only what you did, excuse me, but also what you learned from your project, how that reflected your growth in JELI, how it added value to JCC. So it's a larger document. We ask that you be in touch with Jeff, myself, Joy, David, your advisor, each other. You go through this process. Again, you don't have to go it alone. We want to make sure that the document that you deliver to us, as well as the presentation in March, is something you're really proud of and something really demonstrates, in addition to what you've shared on Google Comments and other assignments and in our retreats, the program is so strong for you and how this is making its way in a very real fashion to your JCC and to your work. So don't be shy with questions. I want to just share something that Joy shared with me. If you have not picked a job track yet, you need to go back into registration and do that. It's important that you are all in a job track because the first 4 days of the conference, you will be in and out. We'll have some JELI time together, but you're going to be in every job track that you assign to. You'll have opportunity to choose your own learning. You're going to be at every plenary and some breakouts. So JELI will kind of be weaving in and out of your PC professional conference experience from Sunday to Wednesday, and then we're going to have a lot of JELI-only time Wednesday and Thursday. There'll be some JELI-only time throughout the week each day. And we are this close to finalizing it and sharing it with you, so probably by the end of the month at the latest. Other stuff for Orlando, and then a couple more announcements after that. I bumped it up to 11 a.m. if possible. If you can come to the hotel. I realize that for some people that is just not possible to get to Orlando that early. I know you're coming in Saturday night, and if you have to do that, we're covering your stay Saturday night. We're going to have an informal lunch, which will be a real session for JELI from 11:30 to 12:30. If you can't make it to the session, it's the end of the world, but if you are already in Orlando and able to make it to that session, that's a good thing. We do have another JELI-only session at 3:45 that I believe all or almost all of you will be there by then, and we have a guest facilitator for that. More on that in a few days. Again, departure on 19th. This is really the one seminar that we need everyone there to the very end because you're all graduating. So we encourage a flight no later than early 3 o'clock departing. If it needs to be a little earlier, let me know. I just don't want you to rush to the airport, but we do plan on being together until 12:30, 1 o'clock at the latest, but more like 12:30 to 12:45 on Thursday morning, afternoon. We're all good with hotel requests. I'll be sharing the hotel roommates shortly, and if there's any changes, but I think I'm on all those pages with all of you. But if you have any requests, let me know. And again, the JELI schedule will be out. I have it. I want to share with you right now, but I just want to make sure other folks in the JELI team have a chance to look and review before I do that. Some other things before I let you go. If you haven't yet shared your revised bio, if you look on the JELI Google site, or not the Google site, the JELI site that we created, any changes to your bio, let me know, and I'll share that with Nicole and Lisa Kaplan and Joy to make sure that on all documents that are for the JELI conference, our JELI portfolio, other things they're putting together, that it's your updated bio as well as the website. And then I think 90% of you or 95% of you have our updated photos and your reflection and your project paragraph, so we can create that portfolio. If you haven't yet, I think you know who you are. Please send it to me today or tomorrow at the very latest so we can get that squared away. Question, do we need to be in suits and such? Do we need anything special wardrobe-wise for Orlando? I encourage Joy to chime in just in case I'm missing anything, but I believe not. I believe all we need for the professional conference is business casual clothing. This is not, JELI cohort actually went to the biennial as part of their experience, which that required some days of dressing formally because there's a lot of lay leaders there. But I don't believe for professional conference, even for us JELIs, we need to wear anything formal. I have casual, but I also have some business casual clothes. Joy, is that correct?
Yeah, I would say that no jeans, no shorts, no sneakers. So that's pretty much a good rule. You may see some people that are dressed in shorts. It is Florida, but it's a convention center, and it will be a little bit chilly. But you know, we're seen as a select group of people in a cohort, and we want to dress as such. So you know, similar to the way that we did when we visited with Birmingham, and we were with executives and board members there. Same thing in St. Louis. So use your judgment. Everybody usually looks really neat and clean, and you know, just not dressed down kind of clothes.
Joy, any other announcements or things you want them to know regarding the professional conference in JELI?
Mark and I are working on a final document that everybody's going to get. It will have an outline of exactly what's happening for the conference, as well as a special outline of everybody's JELI time. There's nothing really specific that I need to tell you right now, but if there are still a few that have not registered for a job track, and so if you haven't yet, please pick that because you might be missing some important information that's coming from the track leaders. And if you haven't yet booked your flights, please do that as well because we're trying to keep the flight costs down as much as we can, and then send us your itinerary and your receipts.
Great. Try to keep the JELI emails limited between now and then the next webinar, but expect the announcement for the next webinar. We have Stephen Rod listed as the facilitator for our last webinar, which will talk more about, we'll kind of commence the conversation of how do we take JELI beyond JELI. So everything that we've really built together as a group, although it formally ends on March 19th, how do you continue for JELI to continue to roll, borrow the pun. Stephen starts with that, sorry. Jeff's much better at puns than I am. Any other final announcements or things to say before we close the webinar a little bit early? I thank Monica again for the Devar Torah. I want to thank all of you in the beginning for contributing your day of service mitzvahs that you shared, and I'm sure others have in mind. Thank the advisors and the JELI team for their ongoing support and guidance and putting together all these webinars, and thank all of you for your participation today. You'll have probably small readings and maybe a quick response for the next webinar, but we really want to keep our JELI time to your project work. We're entering the home stretch, you know, the eighth inning, if you will, the fourth quarter. So if you want to make sure your JELI time is focused on implementing your project and writing your report, we want to provide that to you. But our next webinar is also the day after a holiday. It's February 17th. It's a 3 o'clock webinar. We'll try to get that prep email out to you 2 weeks prior, and we will see you then. right, so everybody.
Thanks. Bye, everybody. See you in March.
Now.
Have a good rest of your day.
Marty, okay, just enough, guys.
Bye, Monica.
Is it? Webinar is on Mardi Gras Day. Just FYI.
Oh, it's Mardi Gras Day. You can't
I'll be
Monica.
here. I'm actually skipping this year completely, so I can just. I need to go back yet.
You're not in New Orleans anymore, so I didn't even think about it. So.
But you know, I'm not ready to go back yet. I'm gonna give it a few more months.
Oh, right, because the next day is
Makes any sense at all.
Well, we'll wear the Mardi Gras beads that you gave us in Birmingham a year ago.
I think that should be mandatory.
All right, well, have a wonderful rest of the day. Give my best to Betsy and the whole crew down there. And,
I will.
We'll see you soon.
See you soon. All right.
For everyone else that watched on recording, this has been JELI Cohort 2 Webinar Open, talking about program evaluation from the beginning. Jeff Kress led us in the content part of our facilitation, really some nice insights and takeaways about how we can think about program evaluation, especially in terms of our project work. You can look back at the Genesis text and some of the Midrashic texts that our groups talked about in the Chavruta. Had a great Vartar for Monica, some great opening conversations, and leaving you with making you work on your projects and get ready for Orlando. So you enjoyed the recording, and this has been Mark saying goodbye.